How do you like to be known, Neil, for a start?
As Neil Hodgson, I've found seems to work. They called me that at school. In fact, my mum and dad called me that when I was born. And no one's ever called me Hodgy, believe it or not, until I started with BT. It was weird. I'd never had that nickname, never liked Hodgy. No one called it me at school. And now I can't shake off bloody Hodgy.
Are you telling me not to call you Hodgy?
Please don't call me Hodgy. If we're friends, you can call me Neil. If you don't like me, just call me Hodgy. So
we'll see
how we get on. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. If you start calling me Hodgy, I'll think, yeah, Jennie hates me.
If you call me Gow by the end, well, no, we're in real trouble.
Okay, we're in
a broken and fractured relationship. Obviously, we talk a lot about Silverstone on this podcast because it is the official Silverstone podcast. So what I wanted to first ask you, Neil, was to take me back to the very first time you remember going to Silverstone.
The first time I went there was to actually race. And I found it so difficult because it's such a long, wide, open track with not a lot of references. So I had quite negative feelings when I went to Silverstone because it was almost like, at the time I was 16 and I was on a man's track, as in a big boys track. And I found it really difficult. But it's one of those tracks that grows on you over the years. And as you become a more experienced rider, then you end up where you absolutely love it. And it's one of those tracks, and I'm sure you've spoke to a lot of people about it. It is an amazing place to ride a motorcycle around. It really is.
You've obviously had great success when it comes to your biking career. Superbike World Champion in 2003, British Superbike Champion. But how did it all begin?
Pretty much most people around my age, it's all started with my mum and dad buying me a little bike and riding around muddy fields in the northwest of England, in Burnley, where I'm from. And literally, I just progressed from riding around muddy fields to I started racing motocross at the age of 9, 10, raced that until I was 15, broke my leg, decided I'd had enough, had a go at riding on tarmac, instantly loved it and thought, this is for me. And then thankfully, through obviously a lot of hard work, but also little bits of luck, managed to progress through the ranks and championships. And I've had an incredible 20 years of racing and just so lucky, because you genuinely feel lucky, mainly because of the life it's given me now, the life after racing. Racing's hard and racing's stressful, but the life after racing, I am so fortunate. I get paid to talk about motorbikes, watch motorbikes, you know.
Do you have a collection of bikes?
Yeah, not too many. I was late. And I'm really annoyed at myself. When I was racing, I was so focused on racing and I didn't step back and think, oh, I should use my contacts now and try and get one of my old race bikes or buy one of my old race bikes. So I never did that. And I really regret it. So, but I've got probably 6 or 7 bikes, a few of my old race bikes. But like, for example, I went to John McGuinness's house the other week and he's got, well, I don't know how many he's got. What seems like hundreds of beautiful motorcycles. So I've got such envy. He's got the best motorcycle collection I've ever seen.
Amazing. Can you describe what it's like if someone at home listening to this hasn't been to Silverstone, what it's like to walk through the gate and be part of it?
Yeah, well, it's a part of the history, isn't it? That's what's special. And you feel it. You described it well when you walk through the gate. You arrive at Silverstone and it's sort of, because it's so big, it's so grand, this is the stage. And for motorcycle enthusiasts, you think of the great classic races over the years and you go back to the 70s and you think of Barry Sheene and Kenny Roberts battling it out there. And then over the years, thankfully, it's the home of MotoGP now. And every time there's a MotoGP race there, it's a classic. I mean, 2 years ago, it was Marc Marquez and Alex Rins, the famous battle through the last section, the last corner. Alex Rins actually passed Marc Marquez, which didn't seem possible. So the best thing about Silverstone is a lot of the circuits you race on now are actually too small for a MotoGP bike. You can't really it's almost like let the MotoGP bike breathe properly and use all that power when you get to Silverstone. Because of its vast, wide, fast sweeping corners, you really can use the motorcycle like almost to its full capacity. It was like a MotoGP bike was designed for Silverstone. It really, honestly, I'm not exaggerating. That's how I see it.
What's it like when you're on a bike and the fans are there and they're cheering you on? That must be such a special feeling.
Yeah, it is. It's probably one of the only things I miss about racing. I don't miss the hard work. I don't miss the crashes. I don't miss the stress and pressure. But there is nothing that you do in your life can replicate that sensation of achieving your goal. So you win the race, and then that instant, obviously, endorphin release, and then the fans and the crowds, and then standing on a podium. I mean, that's why does Valentino Rossi at 42 years old still race MotoGP? Because he wants just one more hit of that endorphin release. And you can't blame him. I mean, he's an incredible talent, and unfortunately now it looks like he's probably not going to get another podium. But I think we all want him to win one more race so we can cheer him on one more time.
I mean, a lot of people say Agostini. There are so many great names associated with motorbikes, and I think that's why the crowd keep coming back, because these names just keep kind of developing and evolving. And you look at Marquez and what he's achieved, and it's a fabulous sport, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. But for my generation, there's only one GOAT. The greatest of all time is Valentino. Don't get me wrong, what Marquez is achieving, obviously, he's come to a dead end at the moment with his serious arm injury, and he's trying to get over that. What Marquez is achieving, can he eclipse some of Valentino's records? Absolutely. Can he eclipse Giacomo Agostini's records? Absolutely. But there's only one Valentino Rossi. I mean, everyone asks about Rossi. What's he like though? What's he really like? And I've been so fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in his company all the way back to 1995 when he was 15, when he first entered the paddock. I was friendly with him, and he's never changed. What you see on camera is the same individual that is behind the camera when you meet him in between the trucks or in a hospitality unit. It's the same guy. And he's one of the only top MotoGP riders that his first question is to you, and he asks you, "Hey, Charlie, how are you? How was the TV?" And you know, the other riders, they don't care. But Rossi's a human, and that's why everyone loves him, because you can't lie for all these years, can you? You can't pretend to be somebody you're not for all these years. And yeah, Ross is just amazing. We all love the guy. And like I said, I think we'd all pay a lot of money to just see that one last win. And unfortunately, what I'm going to say is what I believe. I think this will be his last season racing. So get to Silverstone to watch him one last time, because this will be it, in my opinion. I mean, I might be wrong, but he's lying 19th in the MotoGP Championship. Jenny, he isn't going to want to continue that low down the field, unfortunately, in my opinion. So
he's majestic, both off and on track. I always had very good experiences of Rossi, but you must have some cracking stories. You've known him for such a long time, and I hate to try and get you to just say one. We'll have to do an extended version of this at some point. But, you know, have you got a great story from your time with Rossi?
It's just, when I think of Valentino, I think of more when I spent time with him in the early years. And it was just wild, though, like off the scale wild. So obviously flamboyant on the track. You saw him, he was winning races in his first season. But around that time, I was in the paddock with him. And he had the loudest scooter in the paddock, always had the fastest, loudest scooter. He's actually one of the reasons that scooters got banned from being allowed to go around on the track. Like, he was always annoying everybody because he was the loudest, cheekiest, always pulling wheelies everywhere. He was the best at wheelies on a scooter. Honestly, but like him and his gang, and it's quite strange if you think about it, because his gang of people are still his gang of people now. So when he was 15, like, his best mate Uccio was his best mate then. And you know, I think that explains why he's such a normal person now, because he's never changed. He's surrounded by his mates, and you can imagine he's never been allowed to become a prima donna, because they'd be going, "Whoa, hang on, it's us," you know. So yeah, but he's just lethal. I once saw him pull this wheelie in Misano, and it was like round the back of the motorhomes, and he'd be about maybe 16 or 17, and it was all going good, and then it started on his scooter in the paddock, and he was standing on the seat, and it started to wobble like this, and we were all sat around, and I'm thinking, this is going to go wrong, and I'm not joking. At the last minute, he lost control of the scooter. The scooter slid into a group of fans. Everybody was laughing, and only he can get away with that. If that had been me, do you know what I mean? I'd have been in all sorts of trouble, but cheeky Rossi just always gets away with it. Superb.
Neil, I'm always fascinated because obviously I've worked in F1, I've worked in lots of different motorsport, but the bike paddocks are such friendly, fun places to be. Why is it such a different feel when you're talking about bikes?
It's a bit of a working class sport, and genuinely, like you get someone like Steve or all the greats. When I think throughout motorcycle racing, Fogarty or Jonathan Ray right now, or Cal Crutchlow, they've sort of come from nothing. They've worked hard to achieve their dreams and goals, and because of that, they've stayed grounded. So you don't belong in our industry, in our sport, or you won't be successful if you're arrogant, if you're rude. And I think everyone's aware that the fans play a huge part in it, and you obviously you stay grounded and you give back. And I don't know. It's just there's no room. If you're stuck up in our sport, you'll be booted out of it. You know what I mean, though. It's an old-fashioned, in a way, working class, just beautiful sport. I love it.
And it is beautiful. And what you get back from the fans is incredible. There's such passion. There's passion in this country. And that must have made, that win back in 2003 when you won the championship, when you did so well at Silverstone as well. I mean, the podium at Silverstone is what drivers and riders talk about. That must be one of the most special moments of your career. Yeah,
well, it's when you approach, when you've had the success in a race, but it's like the history of that podium, as you can imagine. And thankfully, I was slightly older, so I was probably about 29, 30. So you're old enough to understand what you've achieved, and you understand that almost in your brain, you press play record, and you think, I'm going to soak this up, and I'm going to remember this, because you can't buy this experience. If you think about it, you can be a multi-billionaire. You can't buy that experience, and that's what's special. So, and to have experienced it at the best tracks in the world, and obviously Silverstone being one of them. Yeah, so lucky.
I think you're a person that surrounds yourself with good people, though. You've made good decisions. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of that comes down to your upbringing, though, and your mum and dad, and it's that. Without being cheesy, you surround yourself with positive, good people, life will be good. And sometimes it doesn't go according to plan, does it? As we know, but do you know what? The glass is always half full. It really is. And you've got to work hard and keep smiling. And you'll always meet, and especially the world we're living now, negative people and social media, negative people. Do you know what? I'm bloody happy with my life, and I'm lucky, and just, very, very lucky.
A final question to you. Just looking at the future of bike sport in the UK, Silverstone being the home of MotoGP. Yes, we don't have a rider this year in MotoGP for the Brit fans, which is thoroughly disappointing. But is there hope in the future?
Yeah, there is. We are in a period where there's a bit of a dip, and this has happened before. We're incredibly successful still in World Superbike. The Brits are dominating. But in MotoGP, we've got Sam Lowes, obviously in Moto2, and Jake Dixon, who are doing really well. We've got John McPhee in Moto3. My issue is, when I talk about a dip, when I look then back to let's say the feeder classes, the Junior World Championships, I'm not seeing a standout British rider at the moment. But weirdly, the Brits seem like late developers. So sometimes, like a young 20-year-old who's doing Junior World Championships, or a 19-year-old might not be looking too spectacular now, but I don't know, we seem like slow burners. So there is some talent on the horizon. It's just at this point it's hard to pick out.
But it will be a cracking festival, a reunion, I suppose, of some sorts at Silverstone for MotoGP this year.
Yeah. I mean, everyone I speak to can't wait. I don't know what the situation is with crowds yet. I don't know if you know, but obviously, with fingers crossed all around, I think the whole country feels like we deserve it now. And like I said, and I'm not joking, I genuinely think it'll be Ross's last race in the UK. So I know all my family are already pestering me for tickets, already it's doing me head in. You know what it's like. You know what it's like, don't you? Do you know what? When you look at your phone and you think, oh, that's whoever I met from school that you've not heard of from like 12 months, when it's coming round to the Grand Prix, you know what the question's going to be, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But it's really nice to hear from them. Really nice.
Yeah, exactly. But what I like the small talk before they ask the question. You know, you did the 5-minute small talk, you think, just cut to the chase. Go on. Oh, just wondering, we're thinking of going to Silverstone this weekend. You couldn't hook us up with 7 paddock passes. No, I couldn't. That is not possible.
That was going to be my actual final question, but I won't ask it now because that's just awkward. Neil, thank you so much for coming onto the programme. It's been a delight to speak to you. I honestly could chat to you about bikes, Silverstone, for a very long time, but I think podcasts have a limit. We've already agreed this, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we're both talkers, aren't we? And we can ramble. So. Yeah. Shall we quit whilst we're ahead?
Yeah, and hopefully people at home will have enjoyed it.
Let's hope so.
Neil, thanks ever so much, and we'll see you at Silverstone very soon, I'm sure.
Perfect. Look forward to it.